I got 8 letters of reference. The important point was that they came from very different sources. A lot of my evidence wasn't evidence of selling a company or working on a project that went viral. These are a lot of the typical winning an award is very important to the Tech Nation criteria. But the point of showing that you are an innovative leader in the digital economy, I lived that sentence in every document that I created. And showing that I can work for a new fund where I would have the resources to invest in the digital UK economy was one example of a mandatory criteria. Some from my current organization, I would also encourage people to include things beyond their daily role. I leaned on that heavily, especially to justify my finance experience. When I was working at JP Morgan, I still serve on the board of an art fair in Miami, which is a huge passion of mine. During the pandemic, they went online and had a virtual online experience, and I was involved in that. And they also relieved NFTs. I supported the CEO at the time, and she wrote me a letter, and I had to get her letter, some of the press that the fair received that year, and then fill the story into how it elevated the art industry's technology initiatives. And by elevating the art industry technologically, we are innovating the technology industry as a whole. Another one, I think the most unusual one, I was on Good Morning America interview a few years ago. My topic was about egg freezing and how people in the pandemic were using egg freezing. At the time, I lobbied at JP Morgan. It wasn't included in the benefits policy. And I had emails that I'd sent to very senior people in the organization advocating and sharing that interview and them responding. They actually updated their benefits policy to include it afterwards, about a year after, not completely related to me. I'm not taking full credit for it. Did I raise awareness? Yes. Was I involved in a tiny piece? Yes, absolutely. You have to be careful with taking credit for these things, but it was enough to show that I had innovated the culture of JP Morgan by advocating for benefits packages that are already standard in the technology field. Even though it had nothing to do with technology as a whole, no products or anything like that, it was an argument that the culture moves everyone forward. So I did that a lot. And a lot of the mandatory criteria and optional criteria, I used the salary one, which was some were a stretch. The Good Morning America one was a stretch. The reason I included the salary one, which is you basically show your pay stub and then go on next and show how you're paid compared to other people. That is a very standard document that I saw a lot of people use. Even though I wasn't in the 90th percentile, I just used it so somebody could basically check a box. And hopefully, I think that worked because a lot of my documents were very different and that kind of centered it, I imagine. Another part of this was a startup idea that I've had related to comedy, actually, in the UK, received a soft commitment for funding. So I actually created a business plan for the visa and then actually getting a soft commitment for it to develop it in the UK. So I use that as an optional criteria. Tech Nation wants to see that you've had impact on the organizations and then tying that into technology. If you're really doing things that are having an impact on your community, I would definitely include them. If there's any way that you can tie it in, it would be to not include those things. That's my own personal experience. At least include it because you can see if I'd gone to a meetup or at a library and no one's engaged, there's a big difference between the impact that you can have. And I think they want to see these leaders. That was my own take. I believed that myself, so that's why I did it.